You have found the Open Eclectic Podcast, where Nate and Josh talk about everything from mobile games to books to pet peeves to cars to toys. Our interests run eclectic and we're open to more. Welcome to the Open Eclectic.
Good evening.
Whoa.
I know Kung Fu.
Podcasting? Oh.
I think he likes it. You want some more? Hell yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I, after watching The Matrix for the first time and, seeing him, get jacked in and just download all the knowledge into his brain, I was like, I can't wait for that to become real. Because you just do the stuff you want to do and not do the stuff you don't want to do.
Right? But, okay. First of all, are we going to do an intro or are we just going to go into it?
I guess
I mean, people know who we are by now. They should.
Our two listeners do.
Yes, we have two.
At least two.
Two confirmed, verified listeners. One, should we name drop them now?
Sure, why not?
Or not?
Well, maybe first names only.
First names.
Protect
I mean, I wasn't going to say the last name.
Let's protect
This is first and last names. This is where they live. This is where they work.
All right,
family members. So yeah, two verified listeners. They're both right. A's.
That's true.
Andy and Alexa.
That's right.
Yeah.
They are no relation.
Yeah, we have no relation, sir. Where are you boys from? Arkansas? Anyway, we'll jump into a Forrest Gump quoting.
We should do a Forrest Gump episode later. At some point, I think.
Yes. It is one of my all-time, it's top three.
Top three?
For me. I would have to say.
Inquiring minds want to know, what are the other two?
Interstellar's one.
Really?
It'd be kind of hard to name the other one. I can't.
That's fair.
I'd have to think about that. But, yeah, Forrest Gump is definitely one of my all-time favorite movies.
For me, I think it has one of the highest rewatchability quotients.
It is a staple of TNT, TBS, those. If you have cable, it's a staple. Yep. One of those. If it's on, you must watch it. That was the rule.
Actually, that was the rule, and it bugged my wife to no end for a while. Actually, because channel surfing, whoa, go back. She's like, what? I was like, did you see that? Go back 3 channels. We're stuck here now.
Yep.
She was like, but I said, no, I don't care. This is what it is.
Shawshank Redemption's another one.
Yeah.
Any of the Lord of the Rings movies, if they're on.
I consider that. Yeah, absolutely. I consider that one movie in my mind.
Well, okay. If a section of the Lord of the Rings movie is on.
Yeah.
Yes.
Agreed. That's actually really terrible because for me, now thankfully I didn't run into this problem, but if I were to be channel surfing and Fellowship was on, I would most likely stop and watch it. And if it was a marathon, I'd have to watch all of them, which would be insane because of commercials.
Now, okay.
I would just kill my sleep cycle.
So if you had cable and you were flipping through the channels and you see the Fellowship's on now, so you say you'd have to, if it was a marathon, you'd watch them all. Now, would you suffer through the commercials, or would you be like, okay, I'm in the mood now, I gotta bust out my DVDs, or if you have the Blu-ray, bust that out and watch the extended edition, the only edition?
Absolutely.
Really?
I probably would for time's sake, honestly. But no, with Forrest Gump or Shawshank Redemption, I would just watch it on TV and bear the commercials.
Well, yeah, sure. Because I mean, with Forrest Gump, there's not a lot that they're gonna cut for content, really. And
yeah,
the commercials, yeah, it's annoying, but it's easy to just sit on the couch. Okay, wait for Forrest Gump. Yep, scroll time. Oh, it's back on. Okay.
I will say though that for me personally, I don't know, because we didn't have cable for very long when I was doing that. It seemed like when we had cable, we mainly still just streamed everything, which is why we dropped it.
It's basically what we do now.
Yeah,
it's for the kid and sports.
Yeah,
essentially. Anyway,
and my kids are old enough to stream, and I don't really do the sports a lot. So, but the other movie that really would, and I can't decide if it's nostalgia based or if it really is because I like it that much, is the first Matrix movie.
That ties into what we're talking about now.
I know, but it's true.
That is totally true. If I, like you said, I mean, I don't really. We have cable, but I don't really flip through the channels at all anymore. It's very rare. But yeah, if I were to see The Matrix, I'd be like, "Yep,
it's on.
Watch that. Mm-hmm. Yep, gotta watch it." Only the first. Well, only the first one. What if you catch the second one?
I mean, honestly,
which
probably
would be
any of them.
Reloaded?
Matrix Reloaded, and then Matrix Revelations. I think that's how it goes.
And then Resurrections.
Yeah.
Better look that up.
I think that's correct. But yeah, I think I would. I think for me, it's like there is like a heavy nostalgia factor. I remember watching The Matrix for the first time, and it was because a coworker of my stepdad like brought it to work. Didn't tell him he was doing this. He brought it to work, and he was like, "Randy, watch this movie, man. It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be so cool. You're gonna love it." And he told him a little bit about it, and so my stepdad was like, "All right." So he came home and was like, "Hey, Josh, well, let's watch this movie." Now we only had one TV at the time that was really you could watch movies on, and it was occupied by my mom at the time. So we watched it like in the basement on our PC, our desktop PC with like the crappy speakers, like a real tinny sound. And
I can't believe your computer even had the power to push that.
It had
read that DVD.
I can't either, honestly. I think it had to have been our first carnation of computers that had that capability in our house, and that's how I watched it for the first time. Like my stepdad and I, like in these uncomfortable chairs, hunched over, watching this movie.
And was it great?
It blew my mind, man. I thought it was.
Now, how long
incredible.
Was it between watching it on the computer and watching it like in a more clear and comfortable setting?
I think I probably at the time, man, I have to think here. So I think at the time I was on the PlayStation 2, and I had like a crappy like box bulb TV with like the clicking knobs. Yeah. That I had to use. I don't think I'd upgraded
PS2. You could watch DVDs on the PS2. Yeah.
And so I think as soon as we were done, I was like, I'm gonna watch that again this weekend. And he was like, of course you are, and he just handed it over. And so I think I watched it again in that same weekend.
Yeah. Okay. And it blew you away again.
It did. I was just like, this is what a cool concept, and the idea. Oh my god. I'm gonna be cyberpunk now.
Anyway, yeah, so the first time I watched it, so it came out, 99?
I think so.
Yeah, so I was like a sophomore in high school, and I was never on the bleeding edge of seeing R-rated movies, or because, well, for one, I wouldn't be able to go see them in the theater because I was too young, unless someone took me, which my dad wasn't going to take me.
Right.
And there's no way that I was getting watched at my house, like straight when it was on DVD. So I had to wait for to see it with my friends. So I was at my friend Eric's house. Now this is really gonna place me in for our 2 listeners, confirmed. They'll know what this stuff is. But it was after a banquet.
Oh geez. Yeah.
And so a banquet, for those who, if anyone listens that doesn't know what that is, it's the Adventist school version of like a dance, but there's no dancing. Yeah. Because Adventists don't dance.
Right. Well, it's not just Adventist too. I've other Christian schools I've picked up on, because I used to think it was just Adventist, but
right.
I've since learned that a lot of more conservative Christian groups do banquets instead of prom or homecoming.
That makes sense. It makes sense, as you're older and your worldview kind of opens a little more, and you're like, oh yeah, it's not just the Adventist.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I was in high school, so this Adventist is Academy, which is, Adventist high school.
High school.
So whatever the theme of the banquet was, because they're themed, and you go hang out and eat wherever it is, and then you go do fun stuff afterwards. So I went to Eric's house, and they were watching The Matrix, and that was the first time I had seen it, but I couldn't stay and watch the whole thing because I had to go home because it was too late.
What part did you have to leave?
I don't remember. I don't remember, but I remember being I was like, oh shucks, man. I mean, I wasn't saying that, but I was bummed that I had to leave. and I don't remember when I finally actually saw it properly, like got to see the whole thing, but I did eventually. So, and I obviously enjoyed it as much as you did.
It was cool. It was like, I think it was one of the first movies I saw that it clicked with me that some films can be like an art form, and that you can be, because it was so much more stylized than anything else I'd watched at the time. Like my favorite movie up to that point, not that The Matrix is like in my top 3 necessarily, but if you had asked me at the time, my favorite movie would have been like The Shawshank Redemption. So like, it's a period piece, so that was the style. The Matrix has its own style, which has just been wildly impactful and spawned cyberpunk as a genre and all this other stuff. Leather trench coats and dark clothing and sunglasses all the time. But it was just, I don't know, just this, everything about it really just was fresh to me.
It was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's adding a whole lot there. Yeah. You're right. Yeah. It was a cultural, an icon. I mean, it still is.
Yeah.
Even though it's, 20 plus years old, but there's a new movie that came out.
Hard as it is to believe, we got a new Matrix movie this year.
Yes. Something that I think a lot of people didn't think was going to happen ever. Well, because the Wachowskis, I think had repeatedly said they weren't going to do another one.
Right.
And, so Josh and I went and saw the new Matrix Resurrections. When we said a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. It was right after New Year's, I think.
Yeah, it was.
And so I always kind of like to read a little bit about, read a lot about the movies, after I see a movie that I hadn't seen before. And I guess the Wachowskis they're always being asked like if they're going to make another one, before this latest one came out.
Right.
Because, everybody wants it, and the money's, always there, and they're like, no, don't want to do it. And then, finally they, Lana Wachowski is the one who directed this one.
Wrote and directed. Was it both, or was it just one?
Produced, co-written, and directed.
Oh, okay.
Sequel to Revolutions, which came out in 2003. Yeah. So we want to do a spoiler-free review of it, or do you have anything else you want to say before?
No, just it's kind of weird how at the time that the second Matrix movie came out, everybody was like, it was really good, it was crazy, not what you'd expect from a sequel. And nowadays, like, the expectations for sequels is like so high, though. You look at the biggest movies of the last 10 or plus years, maybe, is like the Marvel movies, right? Which are all basically sequels to each other. Like, they all tie in. It's the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and so it's kind of like Star Wars as well with the sequels, whether you love them or hate them. Like, sequels are today's currency for movies, it seems like.
There's no original thoughts in Hollywood anymore.
That's a whole podcast.
Yeah. It's a lot of stuff we just you just said in the last 30 seconds could be episodes on their own.
Yeah.
Like, is there such a thing as Marvel fatigue? Because I might have it, or just like not caring, like malaise. It's like, Like, I was going through a period where, like, I was really trying to power through them all, and I made it through quite a few, and I was trying to do it in the right order. Like,
right.
And I think you're doing the same thing.
Yeah, I am. My son and I, we are. Our next movie is Iron Man 3.
But then, so, like, I made it to Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I finished that.
Okay.
And then the next one was like Age of Ultron, and I think we talked about this before. But then I started watching it, and I was just like, I was just like, I'm done for now.
Yeah, it's really tough to, like,
because it's like I'm not.
Squeeze it all in.
I don't really like. I'm not really a huge fan of any of the characters. Like, I don't really care that much about, like, and it's all just these like ensemble. At least obviously the Avengers is. I mean, there's other ones that aren't, and I haven't seen some of those, so that's probably not fair. Like,
I think
Ant-Man and
I think Ant-Man's one of my favorites.
Black Widow. Haven't seen that. That one did look interesting, but I just haven't.
Yeah.
So we got rid of Disney Plus, and I just haven't felt compelled to re-up with it. So,
well, I understand.
Maybe someday. Got tons of time. Anyway.
So yeah, it's weird though, because, you know, again, sequels are like the currency now, but looking at how cool the original 3 Matrix movies are, and I know a lot of people didn't like the third one, and I hear you, I understand why. I liked it.
So, okay, so I'll say this about that one, about the third one. So, I honestly don't think that I actually watched the whole thing when it first came out, because like I watched 1 and 2 like multiple times. I got the DVDs. I watched Animatrix 1 and 2, Matrix 1 and 2, and I was always like, the third one's no good, whatever, it's not good. And then I finally went through. I busted out my. No, I didn't watch the DVDs. It was on like Netflix. All of them were on Netflix.
Oh, okay.
So I watched Matrix 1, 2, and then I was like, I'm gonna watch 3. And I was watching 3, and I'm like, it's like, okay, it's not, whatever, it's not as, cool as the first one. But then I was watching, I'm like, I'm like you, Josh, I liked it. I don't see the hatred. Like, I'm like, okay, it has some corny moments, but I'm like, the battle, like the big battle,
yeah,
it was pretty cool.
Like, the fights were cool. The story was, reasonable. I don't know. Maybe we should interview a Matrix 3 hater.
Maybe. Yeah, sure.
Like, flesh that out, because I don't understand why.
And as I was watching it, I'm like, I don't remember any of this. So either I watched it once and just like dismissed it, or like completely just whatever, dismissed it, or I didn't actually watch it. Like, I don't know, because I was like, man, I don't remember any of this at all.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I'm like, this is okay. This wasn't bad.
Yeah. And I think so. I've seen now after we watched it, the newest one, Resurrections.
Yep.
I was kind of interested because as we left the theater, we were talking about it briefly, and I was like, I liked it. I enjoyed the movie. I liked some of the layers that they brought in and the throwbacks and stuff. That I thought it was. I thought it was an adequate sequel. I thought it was fun.
Yeah,
my time.
Me too.
I'm happy I saw it in the theater, because I considered watching it at home and like streaming it on HBO. And I just,
which, let me say, is a pretty cool option.
It really is. It really is.
Continue.
But I still kick myself that. And I've had angry words with my friends that who saw the original Matrix in the theater and didn't say anything about it.
Like, didn't tell you, like, oh my gosh, you got to watch this movie, Josh.
I was like, wasn't that cool? And like, oh yeah, I can't believe you hadn't seen it yet. And I was like, and you said
you didn't tell me about it.
Yeah. But yeah, so I was like, I don't want to. I think we should go. It's fun. I haven't been to a movie in a while, and it'd be nice to get out and do that. And as we were leaving, I was like, I thought it was good.
Yeah, it was good.
It starts out pretty.
Well, like, a big thing going into it, you're like, how the heck are they going to explain how? So I don't think this is talking about the first 3 and so what happened there isn't a spoiler, right? Let's establish that.
I mean those movies are 15 to 20 years old.
Yeah, I think if you haven't seen that, it's like a Sixth Sense moment. It's just gonna blow.
Right.
It's just gonna blow your mind. I was really interesting how are they gonna like explain how Thomas Anderson, how Neo's alive.
Because at the end of the third movie, he dies. Like, he's dead, yeah.
Trinity dies too.
See, that I don't remember.
Pretty sure.
I'm pretty sure she does.
Well, because
they both like kind of sacrifice themselves.
Yeah, they crash their ship into the machine city thing.
Yeah, and then he gets plugged in for one last hurrah, and yeah, it's like a big climactic thing that In hindsight, I kind of think the Wachowskis maybe like wrote themselves into a corner a little bit. I'm not sure. Haven't not really a script writer at this point in my life, so I'm not going to speculate too much on that.
Not yet. No. Sopranos throwback here. I hear if you get some screenwriting software, it should basically write it all for you. Have you gotten to that?
Oh, part? Right. Is that where? Because Chrissy's like writing.
Did you get to that part?
Yeah, that's like in season 2. He's writing.
Well, him and Aid, and he gets a laptop he's got for like Christmas. A laptop,
and I think so.
He's got a bunch of like those floppy disks, those like
he's like
3 1/4 floppy disks.
Yeah, it's such a great.
He's like, oh yeah, I got a
yeah, it's so wild. That was like a big question. Also, I was like going into it because what I recalled, and I didn't go back and rewatch the other ones. I decided.
No, yeah, I didn't either.
It's been a while. I think I did watch the original Matrix last year, the year before, and I just was like, no, I'm just gonna go into it cold. Let's see how it goes. And I think I was right. I think it had some great nostalgic callbacks, and I think should we say how it kind of starts?
Sure.
I think we could say that without being.
Yeah. Okay. And I'm looking here. In Wikipedia, talking about how the third one ended. So he gets plugged into the Matrix, and then Neo fights the Smiths, and then the machines. Blah blah blah. Neo's life is sacrificed.
Yeah.
And the Matrix is rebooted, and the machines. The architect meets the Oracle, and they agree that peace will last as long as it can.
Like all peace.
Yes. Anyway, so okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I was really just curious how... I was like, well, it's called Resurrections, and when Neo has his conversation with the architect, that kind of... I don't know how to describe that conversation. Overly pretentious conversation that really... like rock some young kids' minds, I suppose.
Totally.
I was like, oh, well, they talk about how there's like several versions and incarnations of the Matrix, and there's always the one who like kind of does stuff, and then he makes a choice, and they just reset and like do it again, and they do it again.
Yeah, hadn't it been reset like hundreds? I don't know how many
6 times.
Something.
It was anyway. Yeah. So I was like, okay, so maybe this is like an alternate take, or maybe it's a what if story. Like,
because I was like, how are they? I was interested to see how they would explain that with the
So like the opening scene starts out really parallel to the first Matrix movie, and then it kind of goes from there. And I thought it was smartly done for the most part, but I think that's maybe straying into spoilers for the moment.
Yeah, it's better to see these things for yourself, and so we don't want to ruin anything. But
so overall, you saw it. Would you recommend it?
Yeah.
How many?
It was entertaining.
Out of 10 white rabbits, how many would you give it? 10 being the best, I guess.
Well, I'll say it's not. One thing I'll say about it is that it doesn't like. There's nothing in there that's going to blow you away. Like you're not. I think that could be a weakness of maybe of that. If you're expecting to see something revolutionary like you did, or something that is just over the top, knock your socks off thing like you saw in the first one, or which they kind of continued in the second and third, and it got kind of corny after that. I don't think you're going to see that. So don't have that expectation.
Yeah.
Which I kind of did a little bit. I was kind of hoping.
I was wondering. I was like, what could it be?
But it was all like, the action was cool. And we don't want to get into it too much here in our non-spoiler section. And the action was cool, but there wasn't anything. There wasn't a bullet time. Yeah.
Like the first Matrix movie, that really kind of was the iconic scene of like the bullet time and Neo doing the, the back flow thing, and
like
it wasn't that moment.
And the first one was all gritty, and it was all the leather and the latex and the shades, and which is like a hallmark of the Matrix. The fashion and all that. It's like that was all like at the forefront and really cool, but then it kind of I think even in the first 3, it kind of got to the point where you're like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
It's not as like flashy and impressive. And in this one, it's just, you're just kind of like, yeah.
So how would you rate it then? Like, cause yeah, I agree. Like it really did. There was a couple of moments where I thought we were gonna like flash into some new bullet timey thing, or like the Smiths fight, or one of those, and then it kind of didn't.
Well, they even make fun of that, which is without saying too much, was really fun, and that they poke fun at a lot of the stuff.
Yeah.
From the first 3.
Yeah.
So they kind of make fun of bullet time a little bit, or they talk about it. So I would say, I guess if we say The Matrix, the original, was a 10.
Would we say that? Would you say that? 10 out of 10?
I mean, that's pretty. It's at least an 8, 9, or 10, I think. Probably 9. It's probably 9. This one, I would say 6.
6? Nice. I think I would say 7.
7? Okay.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I don't want to. Because again, it was entertaining. It's not going to be a movie that I'm like, oh my god, I gotta go out and buy this and watch it, and a bunch of times, and I'm gonna, it's not there.
Stop while you're scrolling cable to watch it if it's on.
Yeah,
like you might.
It wouldn't be a showstopper like a stop the surfing. It's like I'd almost have to like. I'm like, am I in the right mood to watch this? Which part? Yeah, which part is it in? Yeah. I think 6 or 7 is fair. Yeah. Is fair for that. I mean, for this one,
it was really entertaining. It's about 2.5 hours long, and
it was really long. It was a really long movie.
Did it feel long to you?
Because it kind of did. Okay. I mean, because I glanced at my watch, just to see what time it was, and I was like, wow, this. I mean, I wasn't like bored, but I was just like, man, this is a long movie.
Yeah. I was very entertained. I didn't notice the time. I could have gone for another 30 minutes, I think, before I would have noticed that it was dragging.
Okay, so do you think, having seen the originals and been a fan of those, did that make it more enjoyable for you? Like, if you hadn't seen a Matrix movie ever and you watched this one, would it still be a 7? Because a lot of the entertainment, like for me, was like you're kind of waiting for those callbacks, or like how they're gonna, like, if they're gonna reference, if they're gonna, if they're gonna call back to previous characters or previous events or whatever. So if you've never seen it and you don't know, you're just gonna be like, yeah, that was pretty cool. I don't know what the heck they're talking about. That's cool.
I think you could see it without watching the other ones.
Would it be as good though?
I don't know. I think that's really hard to quantify because of how layered it is in the original 3 movies. I think it's really hard to separate them out. Like, I wouldn't recommend to somebody to watch like Return of the King without having first watched the other 2.
Right.
It doesn't,
because it's all the same story, it's the end of story. Yeah.
It's different than watching. Now that I've started watching the Marvel movies in order, it's a lot different than watching like the first Captain America movie and then jumping and watching Ant-Man. Like, you don't have to have seen either of those movies. Sure. But it makes sense when it comes together in like Civil War a little bit, but also isn't necessarily like a requirement. So I think it's different with certain movies. Like, you could watch, and I have experimented, I think we did this with somebody, like if you know somebody who's never seen Star Wars and you start with episode 1 instead of like the original A New Hope Star Wars, like you could do that and get away with it and it would be fine. But I don't think you can with this movie, just like I don't think you could with the second movie without having seen the first one. I think that would be you would start at a disadvantage.
Well, because it's like you could watch it and it would be enjoyable, but like you wouldn't. A lot of the stuff they're talking about, you wouldn't know. You just have to kind of pull that out of, infer that sometimes, or be like, oh, they're talking about, something happened a while ago. I don't know what that was, but it sounds like it was pretty, bad or good or whatever. Yeah. So yeah,
I will say that I think, although I it's not like I said, it's a 7, solid 7 for me. Flat 7. Usually I'm like, 7.3, a little better than that. But no, it's flat 7 for me. I think, in my opinion, this might be Keanu Reeves' best work as an actor.
You think so?
I think so, because as much as I love Keanu, as much as I love him, as much as I'll watch anything that has him in it, I'm down. You want to watch it? Yeah. You had me at Keanu. Didn't even have to say Reeves. But like,
how many other Keanus do you know? Like,
there's got to be one.
Like, not that you know him personally, but like,
well, I don't know Keanu Reeves.
You know of?
I'm sorry to say. I think we could hang out though.
Keanu would be. He'd be awesome to hang out with
for sure. But he's not a Marlon Brando or Meryl Streep or some of those actors who could do like anything that they wanted to and do it really well. Mm-hmm. He's got a tighter focus and range. He typically does movies that are more like fun as opposed to deep, which is great. Like, I don't mind that at all, but I don't think Keanu's going to win an Oscar.
So you talk about that. There's a movie of his that, there's a lot of movies he's made. What is it? Is it Devil's Advocate?
Yeah, with Al Pacino.
Al Pacino?
Yeah, Al Pacino.
I haven't seen that. I've heard it's really good though.
It is really good, but so
is Keanu he pretty like
famously sacrificed his paycheck so they could afford Al Pacino. And it's a good movie. It really makes you. There is some like thoughtful moments and stuff, and it kind of made you think. But it's not because of Keanu Reeves. It's because of Al Pacino.
So Keanu is not a strength in that movie?
He is, because he does do his job really well.
He plays his character. He fits
absolutely
into the puzzle.
Yes.
But his performance isn't going to slap you in the face and be like, no, this really is awesome.
Okay. It's really not. Honestly, the Matrix movies, and then more recently the John Wick movies, but the John Wick movies were made for him.
Yeah.
Like, the stunt directors from the Matrix were like, let's make this cool movie and let's get Keanu to come back and we're going to write this part for him.
So the director of the John Wick movies was a stunt guy in the Matrix.
Yeah.
And he played... Is this a spoiler? He played... we're still in the non-spoiler section. He played a role in the new Matrix movie.
Really? See, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, it's from my IMDb, Wikipedia.
Cool. But I think this, I personally, this is the most depth I've seen from Keanu Reeves.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, because Wick is like, now you're gonna hate me. You're not hate me, but you're gonna be shocked. I've only actually seen the first John Wick,
and that's fine.
I keep seeing every time it comes up, I'm like, yeah, people are like, hey, the John Wick movies, and yeah, I've only seen the first one. Like, what?
They're all really fun popcorn movies.
Yeah,
they don't try to be anything else.
But I just keep getting further behind because it's like, oh, what? You got to watch the second one. I'm like, yeah, I know, I'm gonna watch it sometime. And then it's like, yeah, I've only seen the first one. It's like, what? You got to watch 2 and 3. I'm like, yeah, I know. It's like, oh, I've only seen the first one. Oh, you got to watch 2, 3, and 4.
Well, there isn't 4 yet, is there?
Well, there will be. There will be.
Well, I would be very interested to, if you ever get around to it, to hear your reactions to 2 and 3. But yeah, it's
because I liked 1.
They're fun. Don't get me wrong. They're fun.
They're
ridiculous. I love it.
What you said about the Devil's Advocate, where he doesn't carry the big performance isn't from him. The villain in the first John Wick, I feel like he has more range, and his lines are way more interesting because, well, I guess Wick doesn't have that many lines, but he's just a real interesting character, and he's very memorable, like a pencil, like the Baba Yaga. And then I'm
gonna give it, shout out to the Film Reroll, another podcast. I'm pretty sure you told me you haven't checked it out yet, but
haven't, but Josh gives it high praise, so
that was the first podcast I listened to from them. Is their theme is that they re-roll with an RPG system movies, and the first one I listened to was the John Wick episode. And what was super cool about that was that John Wick is overpowered, and so they decided, hey, why don't we have him be the bad guy and our players are going to play as the Russians, and that way you have this like really hard bad guy that you know is coming, and you have to figure out how to like set up for him, and that way it doesn't, you know, give your players too much of an advantage, because that's always not what you want to do as a GM.
So you're saying that he was the villain in the reroll?
Yeah, he was the villain, and I thought that was like a cool way to look at it, because you know, from the Russians' perspective, he is the bad guy, you know, because they're the ones who are in charge and all that stuff. Tonight's brew of choice is from the mill. Got this coffee for Christmas, and it's quite tasty. I don't remember what blend it is, though. The roast.
Hold on. Duke Nukem? No.
Yeah.
Dark New Guinea.
Dark New Guinea.
The Mill is a local coffee shop here in Lincoln. Maybe they could be a sponsor of us.
That'd be interesting.
I mean,
why not?
Anybody could be a sponsor.
That's true. We have a Ko-Fi.
Yeah. But yeah, the trying to like plug them here. Order online at millcoffee.com. Serving the finest coffees and teas since 1975.
Really? I had no idea the mill was that old. Cool.
Also, little nugget, I'm pretty sure the mill was founded by someone from Union College.
That would not surprise me.
I think.
I have to look at that. Well,
pretty sure.
Yeah.
Pretty sure.
So anyway, you know, Keanu Reeves, fantastic. Really cool stuff. Like his movies. Like I said, if he's in it, I'm willing to watch it. But like by and large, it's not like he has a lot of... He has a certain range, and he typically stays in it.
Does not stray from said range.
Yeah, when he tries, that's when it gets kind of weird. But I thought in this movie, maybe I just saw what I wanted to see. But I saw a lot of like depth and range and some emotion from Keanu Reeves that I've never seen before, and has made me.
Because he was playing. Is this a spoiler? Talking about like the, you know, like.
I think it is. We'll get to that in a minute.
Okay. We guess we got to decide when we're going to stop our non-spoiler and go into the spoiler section.
Well, I guess, you know, is there anything else non-spoiler that you want to say, or should we like...
let's see.
Tell everybody pause and go watch the movie real quick.
Not related to the movie itself, but our experience at the theater. Some pretty awesome trailers. That were in front of this, but there was a lot of them. There was a lot of trailers. Like the movie was scheduled to start at like 3:15, and it didn't actually start until 3:35.
Yeah, that was a good amount of trailers. That the new.
What's that one with what's his name? Leto.
Nick Cage? Oh, Leto. I was thinking of the Nick Cage movie where he plays himself.
Yeah, that one.
And he like goes on these adventures with Pablo Pascal, who plays like a eccentric billionaire who just wants to do like Nick Cage movies.
Is it Pedro Pascal or Pablo?
What did I say? Pedro?
It's Pedro, I'm pretty sure.
Mr. Pascal of Narcos and Mandalorian fame.
Game of Thrones also.
And Game of Thrones. That's true. I did get that far in that show.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Gave up on it though.
Prince Oberon, I believe. So the Nick Cage, and then there was Leto. It's a Marvel movie, right? He's a
Morpheus.
Vampire
Dr.
guy.
Morpheus?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That one looked pretty sweet.
That does look
Batman, the new Batman, Robert Pattinson.
That was the first trailer I've seen for that.
Yeah, me too. And I'm like, I'm down. I want to see it. I know. So I know. You know, listener 1A, 1B, Andy, big Batman fan, right there. I'd be interested to hear what he has to say about that.
Yeah.
Or what his thoughts are. We may have to get Andy on at some point to discuss Batman or
I heard an interesting take on the Batman movies in general, and that kind of encapsulates some of the problem with the movies. Not because I didn't like, you know, certain ones. I'm not taking that comparison, but like, where do you draw the line with like, okay, that's gritty and dark enough? Because we started with like, as far as cinema Batman is concerned. Not the comics, because I'm aware of how they start and their ebbs and flows. But as far as Batman on the silver screen and maybe portrayed in TV shows, like we had the 60s Batman, which was absurd and campy, but fun and ridiculously popular. And then like every incarnation of Batman since then gets darker and grittier. And like that's the only way that the movie studios are choosing to like improve the story and tell their version, it's like, and I just don't know at what point
must be darker.
It's just going to be like a black screen with like the eyes flashing around and then like muzzle flashes.
Well, there was that part in the trailer where that was exactly like that. It was completely dark. And Batman was moving down this hallway, and all you saw, like you said, was the muzzle flashes from the gun. So yeah, it was a great, really cool stylistic choice. But yeah, you're right. It's like it was dark, and then it'd be like, poof, poof. So you'd see Batman like in different, it's like a strobe thing.
Yeah.
So he's all like, poof, 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 poof.
The next movie, that's all it's gonna be. It's just strobe.
Or is it gonna get like? You talk about like darker, like the lighting, but then like, at what point does it get to be like? Are they going to just be like, give Batman a gun and have him just like blowing bad guys' heads off, or even not bad guys? Like,
from what I've heard, we are going to get that. If they do a Flashpoint movie, which I'm hoping they do, because that's a really cool concept to me.
What's Flashpoint?
Okay, so basically, this is way off topic, but hey. So
that's okay. That's what we're known for.
I know, right? It's like our hallmark. So there's a comic called Flashpoint, because the Flash can manipulate time to a degree, right? He can.
I didn't know that.
Go so fast. I think that's how it goes. He can go so fast that he could like move forward and backward in time. Mm-hmm. And he basically saves. He does something, and what it does is triggers a chain reaction where instead of the guy killing Thomas and Martha Wayne, they kill Bruce. Child Bruce, right? And so what this does is his mom's mind snaps at the loss of her, seeing her son gunned down in front of her. Kind of makes sense, actually. And she becomes the Joker. And his dad, and goes around causing mayhem and like doing all kinds of bad stuff. And his dad becomes Batman, like a version of Batman, but he's got like two dual pistols, and so like if he catches you, he kills you. And it's like this.
And this has already been done.
It's a comic, and I've heard rumblings constantly that they're going to do a movie version of that, and I got to be honest, I kind of want to see that. Like I want to see that, and just remind everybody of like. For me personally, I prefer, as I've said before, like the Kevin Conroy Batman the Animated Series Batman. Even though it's a kid's show, it still is worth watching as an adult.
Okay.
And I think that's dark enough and like gritty enough, really. Like I loved the Christian Bale Batman movies. Those were really cool, but even those were maybe, I don't know, a little like a step or two beyond where I would prefer things to be, but
well, and there's that like making it darker and grittier, like just to like keep people interested, I guess. I don't know.
So I say that, but I also say that one of my other favorite things is the Frank Miller version where he like there's a scene where he catches this criminal and the guy's like, I'm not telling you anything, and he just like breaks his arm. Like Batman just breaks his arm and is like, you're going to talk and you're going to stay scared and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh, dang. All right. That's a different. Okay. Here we go. And, and it works for what it is. But I just think that for the movies, like the answer isn't let's be darker, let's be grittier. I think there's better ways to tell a story than pure violence.
Yeah. It's like, let's maybe make the characters more interesting rather than just going for that.
Yeah.
So like what is like okay, I know there's differences between the comics and the graphic novel or whatever all the different media. Like what is Batman's like limit?
He doesn't kill.
That's it. Is that it?
That's kind of it. Like it's really weird because if you look at Batman when he first started, he carried around a revolver and would occasionally just kill people. So it was almost more like a Punisher thing, and I don't know where exactly we were introduced to this. The Batman does not kill aspect of it, but it definitely in the 60s Adam West version, obviously he was very. What I actually loved about the 60s one is he was actually reluctant to fight even, and like there's an episode where he's going to fight or he confronts Catwoman, and she's like, all right, well, I'm going to use whatever form of martial art and blah, blah, blah. You know, it's very campy, so they announce their moves almost like an anime. And
I'm going to chop you with my karate.
Yeah, and instead of like reacting, Batman just stands there and goes, well, I see what you're actually using is this, which means that I would have to make the first attack, which I will not do. And it was like, holy moly, what's going on here? So, you know, it's like, like I said, I think there's a lot of cool stories you could tell with and take a different take. I want to see a Batman movie, where they focus on him being like the great detective.
That would be cool.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, still Batman, still kicks butt when he needs to or whatever, and you can have some cool action, but has like a slightly different focus.
Yeah. Like rather than just like moving from fight with multiple thugs to
Yeah.
Which I know, again, we're way off topic here, but like the Arkham the games, the video games.
Yeah.
Really cool, but it's like it's a lot of, I mean, there's a combat system in there where you get rewarded for stringing together combos, but it's a lot.
Slash
yeah,
game.
you move from fight to fight.
Yeah.
Okay. And are we ready to go into the spoiler section of the new Matrix movie?
I think so. I think everybody's been warned. We're gonna get to the spoilers.
Yep. Okay.
Here they come.
Big spoilers. So if you haven't seen the new Matrix movie, stop listening right now, unless you want spoilers. Oh, hey, before we get started.
Yeah. Tell me.
So my son wanted to know where I was going this evening. Told him I was going to go, to Josh's house and record a podcast, and he was like, asking me questions about it because he's supposed to be going to bed, but he was, stalling.
What?
So he was like, "So are you guys going to be like, it's me on TV?" I'm like, "No, it's kind of like a radio show." And he's like, "What are you guys talking about?" And I was like, "We're talking about a movie called The Matrix." And he's like, "Can you also talk about Detective Pikachu?"
I have not seen it.
We watched that today.
Did you? Is it good?
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's good.
So I'm not a big Pokemon guy, but I was oscillating on that one.
It's Ryan Reynolds is the big star of the movie, and the all the cool Pokemons. The main lead, Justice Smith. I think his name Justice Smith.
Yeah.
He was okay. He did fine.
No Keanu Reeves though.
No. But so Eric has been way into Pokemon lately. He got the starter board game for Christmas, which it's really fun, really easy to pick up competitive card game. It's fun to play.
Yeah.
He's way into, his favorite thing is to trade cards. So he's been taking chunks of cards to school to trade with his classmates who are also into it. So he wanted me to drop Detective Pokemon. Pretty cool movie.
Okay.
Just check it out.
All right. Is it streaming somewhere?
I'm not sure. I just went ahead and bought it.
Okay.
Like I paid for it just because I'm like, well, he'll probably want to watch it again. But
yeah,
I don't know. But we can look.
I'll check.
Is it streaming somewhere?
Check my local Redbox. Who knows? Maybe it's there.
Pokemon.
Probably not though. Pokemon.
Like I hadn't really heard anything about it because, like you, I wasn't really into Pokemon. But I'm finding myself getting more into it now because my son's into it.
My niece taught me how to play last Christmas or so, and I was like, "This game is really fun." I liked it. I liked playing
it. It is
a lot.
fun.
I liked building the deck. I liked playing it.
Like, and the board, like the game that he got, like for Christmas. It gives you the play area on a nice, board game style, like fold-out board, and it has all the steps that you take for each turn. And I'm like, wow, This is great. There's like the ambiguity is really like
gone,
pushed to the side. Like it really isn't a lot. So yeah, recommend that. There is I don't see any streaming for Detective Pokemon. It's all like purchase.
Okay.
Like we bought it. We bought it on Apple. So,
yeah.
But anyway,
I'll keep an eye out for it.
So
I'll keep an eye out for Pokemon cards for him too. Sometimes I find like, penny cards or something like that are, like fodder cards, but still.
Sure, he doesn't care.
He doesn't seem to care too much. Cards.
Yeah, he just wants the cards, and I'm trying to talk him into getting binders for him and the little the sleeves to put cards in. I don't think he quite maybe doesn't quite grasp what that is, because he's like, he just puts them in these little like tin cases that he got, like these Pokemon cases that could probably hold, I don't know, 25 cards or something.
Yeah.
But I'm like, we got to get you a binder.
Get like sleeves for the cards.
Yes, exactly.
Oh yeah. I'm familiar with this rabbit hole.
Yeah. So there's a whole. I think you sent it to me, or it might have been my friend Jordan when I was telling that Eric is getting into this, and it's that picture of it's that meme, like get your kids into magic and you don't have to worry about them getting into drugs.
I'll never have money for drugs. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I wanted to make that plug. Okay.
Yeah. So the big reveal, of course, in the Matrix movies is that it's actually that the John Wick movies are a sim in the Matrix. I'm just kidding.
You almost had me there.
Seriously, spoilers now.
Yes, spoilers starting now. Right now. Right. Everything after this is going to be is prone to spoilers.
Yes.
So the way that the Matrix, like the machines, they're the Matrix that they created, the way they explain all the events that happened, they said it was a video game.
Yeah.
And Neo,
Thomas
Anderson, he wrote and like designed this video game called The Matrix.
And it was an immersive game so that it was meant to feel like you were there.
Yeah.
And like yeah.
So that's where all like the joking, like I said it before about bullet time, because he works for this video game company. And like the parent company is even Warner Brothers, which is like the same company that
there's like a lot of almost, they're not fourth wall jokes, but they're like I've never heard of anybody getting so close to breaking a fourth wall without actually doing it. Because they're like, well, if Warner Brothers, our parent company Warner Brothers, tells us that if we don't make a fourth game, they'll make it without us.
And they're gonna shut us down, basically.
Yeah, and it was like, oh yeah, so like what
funny.
they did with the Matrix movies.
Yeah. So there's this great montage where it's like going between like the board, not the board, but like the bull sessions, like where the designers are all talking and
brainstorming.
Yeah, brainstorming. That's a good word. That's the right word. They're all talking about like bullet time, like everything was all bullet time back then. Like whoa, yeah, bullet time. But then they're like, we got to do something else. So it's like,
what's the next bullet time? Yeah. It's very interesting because it feels very. A lot of this movie is like social commentary on like on modern society, and how it's not really. We're not interested in putting out good content. We're getting interested in putting out consumable content, which is not always the same.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And you get stuff that's watered down because it's just like they were saying, like, what's the next bullet time? That's what we need. What's the new deal? What's the new thing? As opposed to like, how can we tell a good story? And like, if these things prop up that story, great.
Like reality TV is consumable, but it's not good,
right? Hot dogs, they're consumable, but like you wouldn't want to live on them. Unless it's a Costco hot dog, arguably the best hot dogs in the world.
Costco hot dogs. Awesome price, awesome taste.
I don't eat hot dogs much anymore because they are terrible for you. But once in a while, when I'm at Costco, I'm like, I'm getting me a hot dog.
Yeah, and they're all beef hot dogs.
They're all beef, $1.50 for a hot dog and a drink,
and a soda. Bless you, Costco.
I mean, sorry, I don't care. Another rabbit trail. We were at Costco today.
Okay.
And we pull up, and my wife goes, "Holy cow! I don't know who shovels for Costco, but they need to come and do our neighborhood too, because there was like no snow anywhere. It was just, it was amazing, with our recent snowfall, which wasn't like terrible, but
I mean,
it's snow.
It was a decent amount. I mean,
was like, it's just all the employees. They called them all this morning and were like, everybody has to come into work right now, double time and a half, but like, here you go.
Yeah, Wanda even had to go shovel snow. No, she did.
It wouldn't surprise me, to be honest. But anyway, yeah, so just...
Maybe Costco could be a sponsor, too. Costco.com.
That'd be cool.
Check out their hearing aid booths. They're optical. Hot dogs are great.
Send them feedback saying, how come you're not sponsoring the Open Eclectic, I guess.
Exactly. I guess what we were talking about, Keanu, you said you thought it was like his... like one of his best roles, like his depth and stuff, like because he's he's portraying, and they like also another part of it that they to like make it seem believable and or make it seem like it was just something that didn't really happen was like they made him basically like someone struggling. They made him someone struggling with mental illness.
Yeah,
and so
like,
basically he's like I don't know what the word is. Schizophrenia,
or his episodes where he can't determine.
He can't distinguish. Yeah, he can't distinguish. Reality
and, so he thinks that the game, in the movie, that the games that he made, he believes that they actually happened, and has episodes where he like sees stuff from the games or whatever.
Yeah.
He's seeing an
and
analyst.
He feels like he's in the game or he's doing like something's happening, and so he sees a therapist, Neil Patrick Harris. Which I know you didn't like it. I thought it was kind of cool that he was in it.
So as I watched it, I was just like, I will say that I want to give him a second chance. I want to watch it again. I'd say this movie has good rewatchability for me. Not like I'm not gonna rush out and buy it, but I'm gonna watch it again. And I want to give him a second chance with like fresh eyes. But when I was watching the bits with Neil Patrick Harris, I just thought to myself, they could have got somebody better.
Because he definitely has his particular style.
Yes.
Like so you see Neil Patrick Harris, and I think the most recent stuff I guess would be like How I Met Your Mother, Dr. Horrible.
He was in a few episodes of Glee.
Okay, Glee. Because he's very like musical, right? Like
he can sing.
Yeah. So has he been on Broadway?
Possibly.
I'm sure.
Yeah. And that's like a whole other game.
That's a whole nother thing. Yeah, so it's like he just kind of has that like kind of like that funny like kind of fast paced, kind of not edgy, but like just goofy, like pop culture-y referencing stuff. I felt like
he wasn't either stylized enough. I mean, Morpheus in the original movies was very stylized, like from his, not just his outfits, but like his cadence and the way he spoke.
The way he talked,
and so was Agent Smith. Hugo Weaving's amazing performance. Everybody kind of did. There was like stuff that kind of set them apart, and their cadence was just different from like the people in the real world. And maybe that was the point, because you start to question, and I was like, man, is that going to be the movie? Like the end of the movie is going to be like, and he like got better, and he realized he needed to separate himself from these games that he made. That's where I thought the movie was going, to be honest. I did, until it didn't, and I was just like, oh man, that's gonna just piss so many people off.
Yeah,
they're gonna be so angry. I can't wait.
So I thought Neil Patrick Harris, as like before Thomas Anderson / Neo, before he gets pulled out of the Matrix and into the real world, I thought Neil Patrick Harris as a therapist was,
laughable. Sorry, just
no. I mean, I get that, like
an analyst.
As like just as like a an actual therapist, like him, the way he was talking, taking notes and all that stuff. I thought that I'm like it's kind of corny and over the top a little as far as like, I don't know, because Keanu's like, am I crazy?
We don't use that word here.
We don't use that word here.
So I think they did a really good job, and I will say that in Neil Patrick Harris's defense, he did kind of help with the idea of like of really making you question, maybe he is crazy, like maybe he was, and all of this was just nothing, and they're gonna wipe it all away as it was fun, don't worry about it, it wasn't real, or in universe even. And I mean, because he was the references were like, some of them were subtle and some of them were really ham-fisted, and some of them I couldn't tell if it was intentionally ham-fisted or like they thought they were being subtle but then they weren't. So like Neil Patrick Harris's glasses are bright blue in the movie, and if you recall, Neo took the red pill, not the blue one,
right? So
I was like, ooh, maybe it's representing,
and he was prescribed a whole bunch of just tons of blue pills,
which looked scary to me. They looked metallic.
Yeah.
And I was like, I wouldn't put that in my mouth.
Because they're like, gel caps, metallic-y blue.
Yeah, in the original one, it was probably just NyQuil or something.
Yeah, I mean, in the original one, that
they look like
that's
actual
right.
pills.
They look like liquid filled. Yeah, it looked like NyQuil or like and so the new ones, they were like the gel cap, the one you'd expect would have like powder or whatever inside.
To me, they looked like the small metal geocaching canisters, except slightly smaller. Yeah. It was kind of ridiculous.
But I mean, it was supposed to be like overly bright and flashy, I guess. Like just because it's the real, or it's not the real. It's the Matrix. So it's like everything looks. I don't know.
Yeah,
looks more real than it actually is, I guess.
One of the great things about the original Matrix was like in the scenes that were in the Matrix had like an overly green hue. They like stripped out all the blue. Like that was like an art decision they made of like blue represents the real world, and so when you see Neo in the real world, there's a lot of blue saturation, but when you see him in the Matrix, it's a lot of green saturation. And so like I was watching for that like the whole time, like right away I was like, ooh, oh no, the sky's like really blue, and they avoided shooting the sky before, and there's not really like a green tone. Man, maybe this isn't. For me, it fed into that concept of like, nah, maybe it was all a dream.
It all was. Yeah, I was like, yeah, definitely. You're wondering. You're like, up until he gets pulled out, you're kind of like, what? Really?
Yeah.
How is this? Like, yeah, maybe he's just nuts. Yeah, and so back to Neil Patrick Harris. Like, I thought if he was just there as like a therapist in the Matrix, I'm like, yeah, okay, it's cool. Obviously he's working against Neo or against Thomas Anderson, because they don't want him, to find out about the Matrix or to get into the Matrix or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like, because it's like NPH. Neil, is it okay if we call you that? It's like when you made the switch, and Neo discovers that he wasn't just his therapist in the Matrix. But he was, he's actually like watching over him, and he's this analyst guy that's
the new architect.
Yeah, he's the new architect. I feel like he didn't change at all. He was the same dude, only I guess all the pretense was gone. There was no like faking anymore. Like he's just baldly out there. Like he was all out there. Like, yeah, I'm here. I'm watching you. I can do all this stuff. Like I can stop time, I can have all this influence and everything. But it's like, I wonder, would it have been better if he would have like, when it's revealed that he's, part of this program, and because he's a computer program, right? He's like the new architect. He's the one who's in charge of like how the people work and how the synth people work. Yeah. And so he basically like designed whatever, or like he designed all that stuff. It's like, would it have been better if he would have been more like darker and like just more chill, like more of like a calm, like a Mr. Anderson kind of guy? If he'd been more soft and a little more like, and not more like at first, and then when he made the switch to being and like the reveal happened. And then he went to like super arrogant Neil Patrick Harris that we kind of know and love, I guess, if you love that. I think that would have made a little more sense to me. And I think that's kind of how like, because certain actors didn't return for this movie. They said no. Right. As far as I know, they were asked, but I guess I wasn't in the room, which is actually a reference to my first comment here. Jonathan Goff replaced Hugo Weaving as Agent Smith, and then I can't remember the guy's name, I'm sorry, replaced Lawrence Fishburne as Morpheus. But they explain that. They explain both, and it works. It's fine. Yeah. I mean, you're already talking about a place where it's like a game. Yeah. I mean. So Morpheus is, the guy that plays Morpheus is, I'm probably going to mispronounce this, Yaha Abdul Mateen II? Yes, Mr. the Second. Who I loved his performance as Morpheus. I felt like he really did good at kind of capturing the swagger that Lawrence Fishburne had without trying to be Lawrence Fishburne. Jonathan Goff, too. Yeah, Jonathan Goff was... I don't think I've ever seen him in anything else until this. My first interaction
so to speak, with him was in Glee, where he played like an idiot, like hilariously. He was that guy that, like, you could probably find him. You probably work with that guy who's just an absolute ding dong, but affable. And then the second thing I saw him in was Mindhunter, which is on Netflix and is like the inception of the like criminology behavior analysis unit or whatever at Quantico. Absolutely great performances in both. And then I saw him in Hamilton, where he plays like King George. Sorry, there's a lot of like internet memes about his spit in that role. Anyway, so like I knew he's got the chops to do stuff, and I thought his performance was great. Like when he switched from being Thomas Anderson's boss at the game place to being like embracing the Agent Smith aspect, there was a difference in his cadence of his voice and his patterns a little bit, and even like the way he held himself.
Yeah. I mean, because he was already like, when all we know him as is the boss of the video game company, it's like you're like, this guy is probably a sociopath.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. Like when he embraces that Agent Smith thing after all the the glass is broken, and all the illusion's gone, he just kind of turns it up to like just not, I don't want to say psycho, but just this driven Agent Smith. His Agent Smithness was good.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But he wasn't like he wasn't just like imitating Hugo Weaving either. So
it was inspired by, and kind of, he really nailed certain phrases and different things that really immerse you enough to believe that this is a new coded incarnation of Agent Smith. And I think that was the difference for me for like performance wise than NPH.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I had as much of a problem with Neil Patrick Harris as you did. I thought it was cool, but I don't know. I could see how people wouldn't necessarily like his role. And again, I think looking back on it now, I think it would have been more interesting if there would have been more, like, I guess more of a, I don't know. I mean, there is a difference, because when he's just the therapist, he's all just like, it's just real like syrupy, like over the top, like, oh, we don't use that word here. Oh, okay, tell me more about this. This is very understanding, he's open therapist. I mean, he did well. And then when it's revealed that he's part of the Matrix, the basically Architect 2.0, the analyst or whatever, watching over Neo and basically driving everything in Neo's life and affecting everything. He's definitely feels evil.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
So I guess maybe it's not fair to say like there isn't enough change, but it's like it's still Neil Patrick Harris though.
Yeah.
Like,
and that's what it comes down to.
Is that Barney? Is that Barney from How I Met Your Mother? Playing an evil computer program.
And this is what Doogie Howser grew up to be. That's what it seems like.
Yeah,
that's what it feels like to me.
Going back to Morpheus, the way they explained how basically how he's not Lawrence Fishburne.
Yeah,
like Morpheus, the actual Morpheus died. Like,
yeah,
well, I guess you find that out later.
Yeah, 60 years in the future or something like
that. Yeah. And but so Neo had coded, or Thomas Anderson coded a Morpheus, that's in the movie, coded him as part of a basically like a side project, or this side little like fenced off program that he was running.
Yeah, there's a word for it, and it's like it's
like a module.
Basically to test scenarios, to test your AI, basically.
Yeah,
and how they react, and to get it to run smoothly and stuff, where it's like a controlled environment. Yeah, which I thought was like almost like an Inception moment of like, because you have someone from the real world.
Modal is the word.
There we go.
So a programming sandbox.
Infiltrates the Matrix, and then they infiltrate the modal, which I thought was like I don't know if that was an intentional nod to like Inception or something like that, but I was like, that's kind of cool. I mean, it makes sense. So anytime my computer's having an issue, maybe I'm actually in the Matrix and someone's just in my modal.
Do you see black cats when that happens?
Occasionally.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So Morpheus is like a AI. I don't know if he AI or is he just a character that he coded, or is he
modal? He's an agent,
right?
And then he's interacting with Bugs, who's a real person, I guess,
plugged in. Who's was whatever. Who she exited the Matrix, but she obviously they can plug back in whenever.
Yes. And so they apparently have a way now to get machines out of the Matrix also who are trapped there.
Yeah, so they pulled this AI computer program, Morpheus, out, and they could like they have these like nanobot things where basically they can make a physical presence. So there's the scene where Neo is on the ship, after he's awakened.
Yeah.
And he shakes hands with the nanobot Morpheus.
So it's kind of like, I mean, for those of us who've been fans of like the Metal Gear Solid video games for a while, there's these jokes that go around. It's like anything that's weird that they can't explain, they just like shrug their shoulders and go, nanomachines. And that's kind of what it felt like a little bit. They were just like, nanomachines.
It's nanomachines.
I mean, and it's fine. It's fine. It worked. It was very fun. I liked the way they did it, considering they couldn't get Lawrence Fishburne back.
Which I was pretty disappointed when I saw that he wasn't going to be in it, because I'm like, he's almost like more the Matrix like than Keanu Reeves. Here we come back to that, like, it's not Keanu making this, it's other people like him and Hugo Weaving, right?
Him like cutting the semi with the samurai sword, or like that SUV, and then like flipping around and shooting it.
That was in the second one.
Yeah, it's just like, I don't know, his style and
just his voice. Everything. I mean, it's just iconic. Like, it's just him. Yeah, I mean,
Ooze is cool.
I was really disappointed that Lawrence Fishburne wasn't in it. I mean, I was cool with how they explained it, but I'm like, man, I wish he would have been in it.
I definitely would have. The same with Hugo Weaving.
Sure.
But again, I think I love Jonathan Groff, and I think he filled the role very well.
Yeah, for sure. Him and shoot, I keep forgetting his name.
Mr. 2.
Morpheus 2.
Yeah.
Mateen the second. Both did a great job. But yeah, Lawrence Fishburne, Hugo Weaving, like they are like the Matrix. Like,
kind of are.
Because like it's the voices, man, and the presence. Keanu's just like, oh, cool, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know kung fu guns.
Yeah.
You mean metallic objects on you? Beep.
Yeah. Oh man.
And of course, Carrie-Anne Moss, very sexy.
The wonderful Carrie-Anne Moss. Yeah.
Yes. Who does a great job in this movie too.
She still got it, Eddie.
Yeah, she does. Do you remember when I talked about the director of John Wick, who was like a stunt double?
Yeah, who was he?
Keanu Reeves' stunt double in the original ones. He was Trinity's husband.
Oh no! Well, that's right. Oh my goodness! I can't believe I didn't see that. That's right.
He was Chad.
I know. It was like, oh man.
Is that his real name?
I think
Chad?
That was his name in the movie. It was Chad.
Was it just Chad?
And then So the movie's kind of weird because it does. There's a scene, and you kind of.
That is his first name for real. Chad Stahelski is his, and he's credited as Chad.
He's the only Chad that I want to hang out with.
Yeah.
There's a scene where they talk about like taking coded DNA, I guess, or gene sequencing, and then reversing it to create like strawberries in the real world. Like the Matrix cataloged everything as best as it could when the machines first took over and like destroyed everything, and so they reversed it, and now they have like real strawberries.
Yeah, they have those AI nanobot programs helping them cultivate these plants.
Yeah,
and they've created like a artificial biological sky.
Yeah.
So they have like weather in their new city, which is not.
It's not Zion. It's
what the hell did they call it? I don't remember the name of the city.
I don't either.
Crap.
Anyway. I think that's one of the weaknesses in the movie is like some of the things they really went for, and it's fine, but it's not as memorable in some ways. Like I remember so much from the other movies, like the character names and like Zion and all these little things, but in the new one, some of it's kind of forgettable a little bit.
Yeah. So I guess So the crew, like the other captains, I guess, or the crew that you see in the new city.
Yeah.
So there was a Netflix series that the Wachowskis made that was called a lot of these cast members were from that I
really?
found.
I'll have to find that.
What was it called? It's called I really want to watch it now. Gosh, it's called Sense8. So the word sense, SENSE, then no space, and the number 8.
That's right. I did want to watch that. I did not realize that was a Wachowski project.
Lana and Lily Wachowski, J. Michael Straczynski for Netflix.
Interesting.
2 seasons, 24 episodes.
Interesting.
So I guess a lot of the cast of those like the people, the crew of the ship that Bugs is the captain of, and other people that you meet in the city that show up, at the end with the big, the shootout at the end.
Yeah,
are from this. A lot of them are from the Sense8 show.
So one thing I didn't follow in the movie until I had to think about it a lot was, so basically, the strawberry thing. That's like how they explain how Neo and Trinity are still alive. Is they just reversed engineered their bodies into being alive again.
Oh, the machines did?
Yeah. And okay, that's fine. That's like a cool bit of sci-fi. We've seen that in like The Fifth Element, for example.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Multipass.
Yeah, they rebuilt her from
basically
something like nothing. Yeah.
And Bruce Willis. The end. Spoilers, I guess, for that movie.
Spoilers.
For that 25 to 30-year-old movie. But so that's fine, and I got that. But what I thought was weird is it's like they talk about how they have to be in close proximity to each other, but they can't find each other because that's how they generate the most power that allows the Matrix to continue existing. So for some reason, that's the part that I have a hard time getting over belief-wise in the movie is they're the best batteries. They're like the lithium ion of people.
Well, see, okay, I didn't really have too much of a problem with that. Yeah, so whatever, they rebuilt them.
Yeah, sure.
And
cool.
They keep them. It's like they keep them close together, but they can't let them get so close that they meet each other. And because when they meet each other and discover each other again and figure out that they're in love and all that stuff, that's when it all goes to hell.
Yeah.
But
so their pods
now
in real life, where they're in their stasis sleep, have to be close to each other, and they have to be close to each other in the Matrix as well.
Now, are they talking do they mean when they get the most power, do they mean they get the most power out of everyone or just out of those two?
I see, that's the part that I'm not sure about. I was under the impression that it was just out of those two.
See, I was thinking it was
those two were enough to power the Matrix.
See, I was thinking that it was if they walk this tightrope to keep them close but not too close, it allows all of the Matrix, all the people, to generate more power.
Okay.
That's how I took it.
Could be.
That
jives. I mean,
make it more believable, I guess, or is that
no? I think it's the same boat still. I'm confused because you would think that yes, you can keep people into peak performance to produce the most power. That part makes sense to me. What doesn't make sense, and it would make sense to me that some people would produce more power than others. But I don't understand how, and maybe I don't need to. Maybe it doesn't matter. It's just rule of cool of they just produce the most power. Was move on from there. That's fine. But like
Keanu, it's Carrie Ann. They're hot. Got to keep them together.
And so that's fine. I don't know. There's a couple of weird things that I think didn't get explained enough that should have. And there was another thing that could have had a little more explanation, but I feel like I got it, and it's like my own headcanon, where Jonathan Goff, apparently as Thomas Anderson's supervisor, doesn't know that he's Agent Smith. And so it doesn't click that he's Agent Smith until he like picks up the gun.
Yeah, and then he's like,
see his demeanor change a little bit.
Oh,
yes. And I was like, ooh, that's cool. Yeah. And
yeah, that whole scene was really cool.
I could have gone for like another 3 seconds of that to like really make that send it home, but it's fine, you know.
Oh, man. Okay.
So what do you think? Okay, so I had some thoughts as to what I think this movie, you could interpret this movie as being about, if you wanted to.
Okay.
And like I've mentioned that it's kind of commentary on the idea of generating content as it is in our modern world versus producing art. Not that they can't interchange, but you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking about that, and like I was like, the movie really is ham-fisted with its presentation of nostalgia. Everybody loves The Matrix, and even in the movie they talk about how there's like a guy who's like, yeah, that first movie, bullet time, but man, that by the third one I was just done. I don't even care about that. And you know, I just and in watching it I was like, oh, it's so ham-fisted. But then
I think they did that on purpose though.
Yeah.
Like to be like purposefully over the top, and everybody's gushing, you know, about it. And
it's a reminder of like the filter of nostalgia. Like sometimes you don't need to make another movie,
right?
I don't know that this movie needed to be made. I'm kind of glad it was. I liked it, you know. But
and I'm sure that the director, you know, she was probably thinking some of the same stuff, like, because we know there was a big, you know, it took them a long time. It took her a long time to even want to make the movie. Because
it sounds like
didn't really want to until at some point she did, because everyone else is probably like, I mean, you know, the public, the consumers were like, yes, please make, you know, give us more. I guess I don't know, maybe not.
Were we begging for that? I don't know that I was.
I don't know, but like the studios, you know, were like, because it's like a money machine,
cash cow,
and so I really enjoyed some of the writing, some of the stuff that, like, you know, in that first kind of section of the movie where it's all that commentary about, you know, about the Matrix movies within this new Matrix movie, and about, you know, consumer culture and stuff. I thought that was,
I think too, cool. That the original movies were kind of a new take on like the Chosen One storytelling foil, and I kind of liked how I started thinking about that, and like how does that flow well into this movie, because this movie really presents the one isn't just Neo, it's the duo of Neo and Trinity. Which I thought was kind of cool. That's like another
because
like the fresh take,
because Neo can't fly anymore, but Trinity can.
Right. At first he had to like relearn how or something. He couldn't just do it because he was, you know,
does he ever figure it out, or is it because he's like, because they stop in midair and he's like, I'm not doing that.
So they do. So like after they see the analysts at the very end, and they're like, they have their final exchange and stuff, and Trinity like flies out the thing. He does too.
Oh, and he's not like holding her hand or anything.
He doesn't. They both don't fly in. So I don't know if that was like. So it's kind of a cool reveal thing. So I was thinking about like, okay, so how does that compare? Does that fit well with like the narrative from the earlier movies? And I couldn't remember, because I played the Into the Matrix game, which I never played that. You should YouTube the cinematic scenes for that game, because they had the actors shoot stuff for the game.
So the cutscenes were actual, real footage.
They were people, man.
Whoa.
As far as I know. I guess it could have been a simulation. Anyway.
Are we in a simulation?
We might be. How do I know this is real? Slap me. Anyway. So there's a line, and I'm pretty sure it's from the game, where the Oracle says the path of the one isn't made by the one, it's made by the many. Something to that effect. And I was like, that kind of is a little like a good enough foreshadowing for me to say, yeah, this fits in well with the original narrative of like, it's not really just Neo that makes it happen, because again, like Morpheus really did a lot to push Neo into being the one. He didn't want to do it, kind of the everyman didn't want to be the hero. He was like, you got the wrong guy. I'm not the one. I just a computer guy.
Doesn't he even say something about that in the new movie where he's like, I didn't even know if I was the one. I didn't believe it myself, or some whatever.
Yeah. So it was just kind of, I thought it flowed really well from that aspect. But then I realized too that if they had switched this movie around, because a lot of people are kind of giving it some grief about, all kinds of things. You could complain about anything, I guess, but there's a lot of interesting haters on this movie already. I was like, man, if they had made the movie about Trinity instead of Neo, and like just flip their roles around, and like Trinity was the coder and made this game, and put herself in it as this badass, and there was this dopey guy who was the hero, and overtly represented the everyman, then I think this movie would be about gaslighting.
Oh, interesting.
Because it's constantly, Neo telling his analyst, I saw this thing again. This is real. And they're like, no, that's not real. You don't remember that. That never happened. And constantly pushing that into him. And I don't know that I've seen anybody else like say that, but I think for me, that's kind of the other undertone of what this movie's about, is like what your perceptions of what's real.
Right.
And if you're going to like allow people to tell you what's real and what's not.
Sure.
Should you? And
well, yeah, because that's kind of like, that's a scary place to be, like, in your head, because it's like, you're saying that you've seen these things and experienced this stuff, which, for him, he actually was, but now that, so then they're like, oh, he just has he's got a mental illness, so his therapist is telling him it's not happening. That's, and he does all this stuff where he like, he feels the tips of his fingers, or he rubs them on his pants to kind of get that tactile feeling, so that he's like, I'm right, this is where I am right now, like this is real. This is real. And I thought that was cool. But yeah, that would be a wild place to be, where you're like, no, this happened, and they're like, no, actually, no, it didn't. You have a mental illness, or you're not remembering it right, or whatever. Now, you bringing up that if they would have flipped it around, now I think that would have been super interesting if they would have done that, because who doesn't love Keanu, right? Everybody loves Keanu. He's a universal treasure.
Absolutely.
But I think it would have been, people, it wouldn't have had that same like cachet, that guaranteed box office thing if they would have turned it on its head like that. But I think that would have been a really awesome approach to do that, because Carrie-Anne Moss, like, she and Trinity, I don't know. We know all this stuff about Neo and Thomas Anderson, but it's like, why, she would have been a cool character to learn more about.
Very cool.
And I don't know. Maybe you should write Lana Wachowski a letter and be like, can you just make a whole nother movie with Carrie-Anne Moss as the main character instead?
Right. Carrie-Anne Moss, I think, has, because I haven't seen her in a lot. Matrix is probably the main thing, but I saw her in the Netflix Marvel universe, I guess we'll call it, where she's in Jessica Jones, and I think she's in more than one of the shows. It's like a strong character, and she's a lawyer with some like questionable motives and different things. Anyway, she is fantastic. If I had no interest in watching those shows, but I did before, and I found out she was in it, I would have watched it.
Okay.
And been happy.
Because I haven't actually seen her in a ton of stuff either. I remember her from... now I'm blanking. So one of them is a movie called Fido, which is a...
Okay.
It's a movie about this kid who gets a zombie and keeps him as a pet, as a dog.
Yeah.
It's Fido. He's my pet zombie. And she's the mom. It's like this kind of like 50s nostalgia, not nostalgia, but like 50s era styled thing. And then she's in Memento.
So I've never, as I've said before, I've not yet seen Memento. It's on my list to watch it. I promise I will get to it. It's, some people consider it an affront to my like cinema repertoire, but it's what it is, man.
I mean, yeah, it's good. But yeah, I haven't actually seen her in a lot. Yeah, she plays the same character in Jessica Jones and Daredevil.
Yeah.
Oh, Jerry Hogarth.
Jerry Hogarth. Yep.
She was in Baywatch.
Apparently, Baywatch Hawaii.
Wait. 1994. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's before The Matrix. I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah.
Well, wait. She was in a TV show called Matrix in 1993. Wow. Canadian fantasy adventure series. It ran for 13 episodes in 1993.
Wow.
What?
I kind of want to find that show and watch it. That sounds fascinating.
She was in Matrix before she was in The Matrix. Whoa, man. So yeah, I actually haven't seen her in a lot, but I really enjoyed seeing her. Now, not only because she's attractive and she's wearing, whatever, latex, leather, whatever suit.
Some sort of synthetic material.
Yes.
I don't know.
But she's a good actor. So, I mean,
very.
Put them together. Then you
dynamite.
Mash her up with Keanu. Boom. Total dynamite.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man, that's a dynamite idea to make her the main character. Why didn't they do that?
Right? And
money is because
I don't know if she kind of took the lead at the end of the movie though. Like,
yeah,
it really did.
Because her decision was a huge part of this choice she had to make.
Neo made a bet with the analysts to like basically whatever Trinity decides. Like if she decides to stay in the Matrix with her family or whatever, then he was like, then you can wipe me and I'll just do whatever you want. That's fine. Mm-hmm. But if she says no, then you have to let us go. And of course she says no, and they want to get out. And the analyst, surprise, is a liar.
Yep.
Was like, I'm not letting you go. Anyway, so it was good. It really shifted the power from what we think of as again the one to Trinity, and then at the end when they're talking to the analyst after they've discovered that they're just going to do whatever they want, they can rewrite the Matrix as they see fit. I think it's how the original one talks about it. She's the one who does all the talking and is like, all right, let's go, Neo. And he's like, yeah, babe, let's do it.
Let's do it. Yeah.
So that was kind of cool. I think they led up to it. I think maybe ripping the Band-Aid would feel too woke, I guess. You know what I mean? Like, if you had switched it and made it about Trinity as the lead, maybe that would be too hard a transition for people. And it would feel like too much of a politicizing of the movie.
But maybe, what if just putting it at the end was like, what if that was just like a token, like, oh, we'll give you that, and, we'll give Trinity the last 10 minutes or whatever.
I mean,
they're just like, here.
Yeah, the Matrix kind of represented like the shift from how we did things to being so computer reliant. And the sequel Matrix movies kind of talked about that, or 2 and 3. About like how even in Zion they're dependent on machines and
the whole like Star Wars talk the political stuff with that old dude that's like talking about we rely on these machines for the air we breathe and blah, blah, blah.
Star Wars, oh man, I don't know what to say.
Well,
it's
like it's the whole like council political talk just lots of talking and Anyway.
Sure. Yeah. But anyway, so there's that, and this movie was kind of, like I said, it seemed like it was about other things this time, of the shift of how you look at things through the lenses of nostalgia, and was it as good as you remembered it being, and the gaslighting, and the shifting of power, I guess.
Well, and then also Niobe is the leader of the new city.
Jada Pinkett Smith reprises her role as Niobe, and instead of looking at something and going, "Ooh, look, de-aging technology," we went, "Ooh, aging technology."
Yeah.
It doesn't quite work, either, no matter which way you do it. We're almost there. It worked fine.
I thought it was okay. It wasn't like Winona Ryder in whatever movie that was where they made her old at the end. I don't remember which one that was.
I think the way her voice is what ruined it. Because
she's like, they're like, we want you to sound like an old lady. She's like, oh, sure, this old lady. And
yeah, and it's not to say that some persons of certain ages don't sound that way, but in my experience, they don't quite sound like that. There's a timbre and a uniqueness that just she didn't quite nail, but it was fine. It didn't pull me out entirely. I was just like, oh, that's who we're going with? All right, that's fine. So yeah, it's fine. I didn't dislike her as much as Neil Patrick Harris, so I guess there's that.
Yeah, I thought she was okay. They did some not weird, but it's again going for that aging thing where they did something funky with one of her eyes, I think, or was it both of her eyes?
I found that really distracting, actually.
They clouded it, or something, she was blinded or something.
Consistent.
Yeah, I don't know.
So there was a lot of cool little surprises and blips. I think this movie's worth rewatching for all the Easter eggs that were kind of...
Sure. Yeah, it'd be fun to do that. To watch it again. Okay, one more thing. I mean, we can have more, but one more thing I wanted to add that I thought was cool was in the final chase, the shootout in the street, streets of San Francisco, when the Matrix, they can take over people.
Yeah.
And so basically and it was the shot of that guy that was just wakes up and sits up in bed in his apartment, and he just gets out of bed and just crashes through the window and nose dives, and the wife is like, oh my god.
Yeah.
I thought that stuff was that was their new secret weapon, the way that they could just assimilate people on the fly. They talk about that a couple times, and you see their eyes turn black.
Change. Yeah.
And so you have these so they're Trinity is driving this motorcycle, and Keanu's on the back, and they're going through the streets, and there are all these high-rise buildings around him, and people are just diving down out the windows and coming after him. And I thought that was cool, and it was kind of gave you that zombie movie vibe, because they were swarming, they were just mindlessly going after them, falling out of the windows. They were swarming on the streets, they were swarming the vehicles. I did think though, when they were falling out the window, I'm like, man, it kind of made me think of now this is going to be this might just slam the brakes on this whole thing, but it made me think about 9/11.
Yeah.
About the people that jump.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's been a while.
It's been a while. Yeah.
But it's and I'd also had, I've watched documentaries on, just on 9/11. That's always, something that comes up
every time
in there. So, and this being we just had the 20th anniversary of that. But I mean, it crossed my mind, but it was,
we apparently had very different thoughts to that, because you had this somber thought or whatever, and
I mean, I didn't have it for very long. I was just kind of oh.
What popped into my head when he jumped out and then the other guys started jumping out of their window too was, it's raining men. And I was like, ooh, well,
it's raining men. Nice.
Yeah. So
I mean, it was probably raining women too.
I might be 13. I don't know.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do we have anything else we want to say about?
No, it was fun. There was some sometimes there was really, like I said, ham-fisted throwbacks. Neil Patrick Harris's cat is named Deja Vu.
Yeah. But I mean, again, they...
Which I think...
They did it on purpose, though.
I know. It's like... It felt ham-fisted at the time, and now that I look back at it, I'm like, ooh, so that's all really playing into this idea of, like, maybe he's crazy.
Right?
You know?
Oh, deja vu.
Deja vu.
Because in the first one, they're like, what?
Yeah.
Oh.
What did you say?
I saw a cat, and then I looked, and I saw the cat again.
Was it the same cat? Oh, come on. Yeah.
Like, that means they changed something in the Matrix.
That's it. So that part in the movie, like, it was really great, and I like how, like, quick they did the exposition. But I was like, every time I see that scene from the original one, I'm like, you didn't think to mention that ahead of time? Like, hey, watch out for these signs because it means they've changed something. Say something right away.
BT dub.
You know, like, that seems like really important information that I would want to know. Mm-hmm. But, you know, it's fine.
But it wouldn't be as interesting. I don't know. It would have still been. If they would have been like, because if they would have made kind of a big deal about it, like, if you see that, if you have deja vu, that means
I think if they made that movie now, that's how they would do it. Because then you as the viewer would be like, ooh, let's watch for it. Let's see if we can, you know. And I was like, ooh, let's see if we need, you know, deja vu moments. And
okay, another thing that I was thinking about while watching it was, because we talked about this before, how in the originals, like, the style was very important. It felt like it was at the forefront, like custom sunglasses, trench coats, leather, like big boots, like... You know, and it was the end of the 90s.
That's what we thought computer hackers looked like in those days, apparently.
So we see the people, like the real people when they come back in, you know, that have been rescued and they come back into the Matrix. You know, they, like, some of the crazy, like, I was just, like, looking at, like some of the crazy hairstyles, like, that one of the women had. And, I mean, Bugs has blue hair, which, you know, whatever. That's not... Sure. Whatever. That was probably about the most, like, odd, not odd, but like edgy thing about her was she had blue hair. I mean, as far as her look, I guess. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I can't remember. Did she have anything?
I hated parts of her wardrobe, and I mean,
she had like balloony, like
she was wearing sweatpants,
poofy pants, kind of. Right?
I mean, what's with the sweatpants?
Maybe I'm sure those pants probably cost like $1,000.
I don't care. They're still sweatpants.
But, like, okay, do you remember, like, the other, like, the dark-haired woman? She had, like zigzag, like, these, like, zigzaggy, like, patterns, and her hair was, like, stuck to her forehead or something.
It was a lot of funky hair, but that was, like, kind of it for stylization.
Yeah, and, I mean, you know, of course, there's still, you know, custom sunglasses and like, because Bugs had, like, these blue-tinted...
Those were some weird sunglasses.
And there's like lines going like right through the middle of it, right? Like part of the frame went through like the middle of it.
I thought those were pretty cool. And you notice, so that was the thing that I saw too, like right away. Because again, I was looking for like the color flags. You know, Bugs had blue hair. She had the blue sunglasses.
She had this tattoo. She had the white rabbit tattoo.
So I was like, yeah, clearly.
She had a shirt with a carrot on it.
Yeah, I was like, oh yeah, she's definitely a real world person.
It's interesting now because. Like seeing that stuff now, it's just kind of like it's like the edge is not there, like that edgy kind of edge factor. I don't know what to call it. I don't mean like edgy like offensive meme lord edgy, but like just kind of like ooh yeah, that's like this is a cool person. Like yeah, I mean
maybe that was intentional too. Like you know, it's much more subdued. Keanu Reeves just even when he was like in full Neo mode back in the Matrix, he was still pretty like relaxed compared to like how we saw him in the other movies. And I think maybe that's just like.
You mean in this one?
Yeah.
Like compared to the other ones?
Like he had a long coat on, yes, and like dark clothes, but not like it wasn't all black. It wasn't like the priest coat or anything like that. And maybe that's just reflective of growing up and like maturity a little bit. Like you don't.
Could be, yeah.
You know, there's stuff that I don't do now that I definitely did when I was in college. You know, there's stuff that I look back at that and I'm like, I don't know how did I do that? Why did I do that? I did that, didn't I? Interesting.
Yeah.
Not me now.
Well, and then like his reflection, like what he actually looked like to people in the, you know, quote unquote real world.
Well, to people in the Matrix.
Not real world, the Matrix. Yeah. Was, you know, he was this older looking dude.
Well, that was cool too because in flashbacks from Bugs, he looks different.
Well, like when she was the window washer, because he had a different appearance.
Yeah,
when he stepped off the edge of the
they changed his like how he appeared, his coding, how it appears to everybody else, which was I thought was like a really cool.
Well, and that was probably part of them trying to like keep him hidden, right? Yeah. Keep him from people from discovering him.
Keep it safe.
Another interesting thing. So his reflection, like the main like reflection, like the way that he looked in the Matrix to other people. That's Carrie-Anne Moss's husband in real life.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So like the guy with the goatee, and the hat or whatever. Another thing on appearance, like Keanu, he looks like John Wick.
He does.
It's like John Wick in the Matrix.
I think that would have been like as stupid as it kind of would have been, and I joked about it earlier. I actually think that would have been a really cool thing that I've kind of been expecting since the first John Wick movie. It's like, yeah, maybe this is like a simulation, a training sim.
That'd be sweet.
And then you get at the end, and it's like, then he wakes up and he's like, I know kung fu. Like that would be. I don't care. That'd be like a cool way to end the John Wick movies series. Just be like, yeah, that's right. The John Wick movies are actually Matrix movies. Every Keanu Reeves movie is actually a Matrix movie. He's just learning something new.
There's an idea. We could make like an entire year's worth of content just taking a Keanu Reeves movie and explaining how it's part of the Matrix.
Yeah, we could. That would...
But when he's actually rescued in this one and he wakes up on the ship, he doesn't have longer hair and he's clean shaven.
Right. Did he have eyebrows? Because in the first Matrix, when he woke up, he had like no hair anywhere.
Right. Yeah, because
nobody did.
I guess I don't remember.
Like he shaved his eyebrow. I think he shaved his eyebrows in real life for those scenes
where he's covered in KY jelly or whatever.
Yeah. Move me up, daddy.
I guess I don't remember now, but it's like he almost looks he's the ageless one. Like he almost looks the same as he did. Like he's like, if he's pudgier, it's like minuscule.
Yeah.
And if he's wrinklier, it's minuscule.
It's really his eyes that give it away. Because that's what I thought too. And then I started comparing some scenes from the original Matrix, and it's like, as he's gotten older, his eyes have gotten puffier and like the slits closed more, so he doesn't have as much like white real estate. If that makes sense.
Okay.
But that's it. Other than that, I'm always like just astounded at.
Yeah. Final thoughts, I guess.
Yeah.
Again, so we rated it earlier. I gave it a 6.
Yeah. I
could maybe go 7. You gave it a 7.
I gave it a 7, and like as we were talking about it, I think it's a. Somebody encapsulated what I think about it really well with an article that I didn't read, but I read the title as I usually do. And it was Matrix Resurrections, a movie for adults. And I think I agree with that. I think even though there's a lot of weird ham-fisted stuff, when you start to look at the movie as a whole, it makes sense. It flows together. It's about a lot of things. Mm-hmm. And when you start kind of enumerating those things, you're like, wow, that's more than any movie really takes on. Like, movies don't do that. They usually it's one thing, and it's usually not even anything deep, right? Mm-hmm. Like all the Marvel movies are about smashing the bad guys,
destroying New York City,
except for Ant-Man, but we'll talk about that later. So I think this movie I think it has a lot of cool layers to it, and I think if you want to just watch something fun and kind of cool that reminds you of that nostalgia, watch it. It's fun. And if you want to look for cool layers upon layers and what about this, and I think that's for you too. So yeah, I think as you bumped yours up, I think I bumped mine up too, more like a 7.5.
Okay,
so give it 7.5, solid 7.5.
All right. Now, do you own the collection of the first 3 in the Animatrix?
Yeah, and I have to throw it away because it's no longer a complete collection, right?
Yeah. So my question, so I own it too.
That's my bigger problem with sequels.
When they eventually, which I'm sure when they eventually like release this as like a Blu-ray combo, like would you buy it so that you have, I guess if you don't have them on Blu-ray already, I don't even know if they have. I'm sure they have a Bluray release. Like if you
mine are not Blu-ray, they're DVD.
Yeah, mine are DVD as well. But if you so if you don't have any of them on Blu-ray, I guess it would be a good excuse, to purchase the whole thing.
It's kind of tough because I bought the original movies I want to say like I got them as a complete set in like the $5 bin, and it was the 3 movies plus the Animatrix.
Was it the whole sleeve where it has all of them, like the whole box that has
no? It was
all
like
of them in there.
It was like one of those cheap DVD cases that just like has the extra leaf in it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, nothing special.
Because mine, like I got mine. I think I got it for Christmas one year, and it was it's a box that has like the little like skinny cases for each of them.
Yeah.
So it's like Animatrix, Matrix
Nice.
2, Matrix 3.
No, I don't know, because again, I bought them a long time ago. I have watched them all at various points.
I kind of want to bust them out again.
Yeah, I do too. So I don't know if I will like immediately jump on it. I may just Redbox it, honestly, or catch it on streaming somewhere.
Okay.
Because I think it'd be cool. Like I said, I'm gonna watch it again at some point. I think it was really fun. I think this movie, I was really going to try to watch it again before we recorded, because once in a while you come across a movie that's better on the second viewing.
Okay.
Like Knives Out, 100% better on the second viewing.
I've only seen it once.
And the third viewing did not disappoint, and I think I watched it 4 times in the span of a month.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, I think it might be in that category of like multiple viewings. You kind of you can focus on other things in the background a little bit more.
Right, because you know what's going on
Easter
overall.
eggs.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm going to pounce on it like as soon as it comes out.
Yeah, I don't know if I will either. But definitely, like you said, I want to watch it again. So
absolutely.
Yeah, catch it on streaming if it ever is, or Redbox or whatever. All right. Well, with that, should we close it up for now?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, as you know, I'm Josh.
I'm Nate.
He's Nate. I actually meant to say I'm Nate, but I said I'm Josh. It works.
I felt like that was a throwback to one of our early episodes.
Yeah. We'll go with it.
Yeah.
So I'm Josh.
I'm Nate.
He's Nate. We're the Open Eclectic. You can find us online. Everywhere is slash, whatever service / the Open Eclectic.
Yeah.
So Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, MySpace.
I haven't updated it in a bit. I better do that this week, but it's there.
And the email is theopeneclectic@gmail.com.
Yeah, I think so.
Have we gotten any emails? It's forwarding to you, right?
Is it? Oh, geez.
I think it is.
No, I haven't gotten any that I'm aware of. You know what? Let me check that. Let me check that right now. What if we had an email and we could do like a mailbag?
We should. Well,
that'd be cool.
if we start getting emails, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you for joining us this evening, and go check out the new Matrix movie.
Yeah.
Matrix Resurrections.
In theaters potentially near you, depending on where you live.
Yeah.
I think this movie is worth. Like we're family dudes, so sometimes getting away to see a movie can be like problematic. At least for me, I don't know. Because you got responsibilities and stuff, which is good. No complaining. Just one of those facts of life. I really wanted to go see this in like a special theater in Omaha and kind of make it like an event, but I was like, man, an hour there, watching the movies, hour back. So in my opinion, as a married fella, La Family, I think a 34-minute drive, still worth it to carve the time out to go do that and go see it.
Yeah, it's good. If you're able to, check it out. All right. Until next time, keep a lookout for those black cats, because it means they changed something in the Matrix. Later.
I know. Kung Fu. Thank you so much for listening. You can find The Open Eclectic on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and MySpace. Want us to ramble on about something specific or have a comment on what you just heard? Send us an email at theopeneclectic@gmail.com. We now have a Ko-Fi if you feel like supporting the show. That's ko-fi.com/theopeneclectic. Or support the show by leaving us a review. Thanks. We hope you'll join us again next time on The Open Eclectic.